Is it possible to bronze a tiger lily? Let's find out. Now, back when I did the lilac, it had a lot of little flowers on it and that turned out pretty well. But one thing about this is there's a lot bigger surface area on the petal. And as you know, a lot of surface area and very thin is hard to get the metal to flow into. So I think I'm going to try to help this along by using a little bit of wax on the back of the petal. As I put the wax on there, I want it hot and molten, but I don't want it so hot that it boils the flower as I put it on. I'm going to try to put a very thin coat on, and hopefully that'll be enough to work. The wax will even help the flower petals hold their shape as I put it in the investment. So I put a very thin backer of wax on the back of the petals, and I'm hoping that lets the metal flow in a little bit easier. Now I've already got a base prepared, and here's how I did that. I started by just pouring a funnel full of molten wax. That'll give me a round blank as a template so I can get started. Now I put it on a potter's wheel, and I'm going to use a soldering iron to try to sculpt it into a better shape. But first I need to try to adhere it to the wheel plate. I feel like I'm TIG welding this thing. The soldering iron is the torch and the sprue wax is the filler rod, and I'm going to try to attach it to the plate. Now in a sense I can use the potter's wheel as a lathe and the soldering iron as a chisel. I can sculpt this into a little bit better size and shape. I'll give it my signature and make a place for the lily stem to go into. Now I'll attach the base to a pouring funnel of sorts. So the part of the base that I'm going to keep will be this upper part that I sculpted, and the lower half here is just going to be a big thick riser. So when this shrinks, it should have a pool of molten metal here that it can draw from. Hopefully I'll avoid that shrinkage on the edge. Now unfortunately I'm going to have to do just a little bit of pruning so it fits in my flask. A small pool of wax should hold the stem nicely. I'll make sure it's sealed tightly and that there's no gaps. Now it's time for the investment. I pour it in very slowly to try to prevent any bubbles from being captured. But this footage is sped up. Alright, so that lily has been burning in the kiln for pretty much all day. It's really hot in there. Holy crap. Now the idea is that that lily is completely burned away and turned to ash. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my air compressor and blow some compressed air into the mold so any ash inside gets ejected out. So now I'm going to leave it in there until it's time to pour, and I'm going to keep it at a pretty high temperature, probably around 1200 degrees. The hotter I keep that thing, the longer the metal will stay fluid before it freezes, so it can get into those thin little petals a little bit easier, in theory. While the metal heats up, I'll enjoy some summer treats. I've designed different size rings for my vacuum chamber so it can take different size flasks. So I'll seal and attach my 5-inch ring. After the metal is ready, I'll pull my flask out, get it in the vacuum chamber, and then get ready to pour. Now in the process of taking the flask out of the kiln and getting everything set, the pressure on my gas tank started going down and the kiln or the furnace started cooling off. And I'm really hoping the metal didn't cool too much. If it did, it's not going to make it to the end of the mold. Oh, it's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. The only way to tell will be to free it from the investment. And to do that, I quench it in water. Kind of. It looks pretty good, but it's not perfect. I'll sandblast it and show you. So it looks cool, but you can kind of see what I mean when I say it kind of worked. The flower petals were just too thin. You can see they didn't fill out exactly. Maybe there was a little ash. I don't know. The stems, the pistil, stamen, can't remember. They turned out fantastic. The flower bud right here, amazing. But the petals are the challenging part. Now I would have liked to have the petals thicker with more wax, but the more wax I was putting on there, the more heavy the petals got and the more they kind of bend down and misshapen. So I was trying to put a minimum amount of wax on there, but probably should have had a little bit more. This base shows just a hair of shrinkage. The riser should have even been wider than it is. You can see a little bubble there got captured. But let's keep going with it. These little wire wheels are good at giving it just a little bit of shine. It took a little bit of a shine. Now let's put some color to it. For color, I'm just going to soak it in a little bit of liver of sulfur. And just a little bit of buffing and a protective clear coat, and we're done. So definitely not perfect, but still kind of cool. If I had more time, I'd try it again by painting more wax on there and giving it another go. But I'm right in the middle of a move, and this will be the last time you see me coming from this space. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.